Tuck. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Hey, all you wild hooligans! This is Logan Boggs here again with more chapters of Tuck Everlasting. Now we've got chapters 13 and 14. As you can see right here, chapter 13's real little. So we're going to do that and 14 all in one go. You ready? Here we go. Chapter 13. Sometime later, the man in the yellow suit slipped down from the saddle and tied the Tuck-soled horse to a bar of the Foster's fence. He tried the gate. It was unlocked. He pushed through and strode up the path to the door of the cottage. Though it was very late now, almost midnight, the windows glowed golden. The family had not gone to bed. The man in the yellow suit took off his hat and smoothed his hair with long white fingers. Then he knocked at the door. It was opened at once by Winnie's grandmother, and before she could speak, the man said quickly, Good evening. May I come in? I have happy news for you. I know where they've taken the little girl." Chapter 14. There had been nothing for the Tucks to do but go to bed. It was too dark now to go out looking for the horse thief, and anyway they had no idea when he had done his thieving or which way he had gone. "That beats all, though, don't it, Pa?" said Jessie, "coming up to a person's house and stealing their horse right out from under their nose." "I gotta give you that," said Tuck, "but the question is, was it just some ordinary thief? Or was it someone that had some special reason? I don't like it. I got a bad feeling about the whole thing." "Hush now, Tuck," said May. She was spreading a quilt on the old sofa, making it into a bed for Winnie. "You're too much of a worrier. There's nothing we can do about it now, so there's no sense fussing. You got no reason to think there's anything peculiar about it. Anyway, come on, we'll get a good night's sleep and figure it out in the morning when we're fresh. Boys, up you go, and don't get talking. You'll keep us awake. Winnie, child, you bed down too. You'll sleep first rate on the sofa here." But Winnie did not sleep at all, not for a long, long time. The cushions of the sofa were remarkably lumpy and smelled like old newspapers, and the chair pad May had given her for a pillow was thin and hard and rough under her cheek. But far worse than this was the fact that she was still in her clothes, for she had firmly refused the offer of May's spare nightgown, with its seeming miles of faded cotton flannel. Only her own nightgown would do, and the regular bedtime routine. Without them, she was painfully lonely for home. Her joy on the road that morning had completely disappeared. The wide world shrank, and her oldest fears rolled freely in her consciousness. It was unbelievable that she should be in this place. It was an outrage. But she was helpless to do anything about it, helpless to control it, and exhausted by the conversation in the rowboat. Was it true? Could they really never die, these Tucks? It was evidently not occurred to them that she might not believe it. They were only concerned that she keep the secret. Well, she did not believe it. It was nonsense, wasn't it? Well, wasn't it? Winnie's head whirled. Remembering the man in the yellow suit was the only thing that kept her from weeping. "He's told them by now," she thought, rehearsing it. "They've been looking for me for hours, but they don't know where to look." No, the man saw which way they were headed. "Papa will find me. They're out looking for me right now." She went over it again and again, lying wrapped in the quilt, while outside the moon rose, turning the pond to silver. There was a hint of mist now, that the air was cooler, and the frogs talked comfortably. Crickets soon joined in their shrill rhythmic song. In the table drawer the mouse rustled softly, enjoying the supper of flapjack crumbs May had put there for him. And at last these things were clearer in Winnie's ears than the voice of her thoughts. She began to relax, listening to the sound-filled silence. Then, just as she was drifting into sleep, she heard soft footsteps, and May was beside her. "You resting easy, child?" she whispered. "I'm all right, thank you." "Sorry about everything," said May. "I just didn't know no other way but to bring you back with us. I know it ain't very happy for you here, but, well, anyway, you have a good talk with Tuck?" I guess so, said Winnie. That's good. Well, I'm going back to bed. Get a good sleep. All right, said Winnie, but May still lingered. We've been alone so long, she said at last. But I guess we don't know how to do with visitors. But still and all, it's a good feeling, you being here with us. I just wish you was ours. She put out an awkward hand then and touched Winnie's hair. Well, she said, good night. Good night, said Winnie. Tuck came too a little later to peer down at her anxiously. He was wearing a long white nightshirt and his hair was rumpled. Oh, he said, you're still awake? Everything all right? Yes, said Winnie. I didn't mean to disturb you, he said, but I've been lying in there thinking I ought to be setting out here with you till you went to sleep. You don't have to do that, said Winnie, surprised and touched. I'm all right. He looked uncertain. Well, but if you want something, will you holler? I'm just in the next room. I'd be out here like a shot. And then he added, gruffly, it's been quite a time since we had a natural growing child in the house. His voice trailed off. Well, try to get some sleep. That sofa there, I guess it ain't the kind of thing you're used to. It's fine, said Winnie. The bed's no better or I'd switch with you, he said. He didn't seem to know how to finish the conversation. But then he bent and kissed her quickly on the cheek and was gone. Winnie lay there with her eyes wide. She felt cared for and confused. And all at once she wondered what would happen to the Tucks when her father came. What would he do to them? She would never be able to explain how she had been with... She would never be able to explain how they had been with her, how they made her feel. She remembered guiltily that at supper she had decided they were criminals. Well, but they were, and yet... And then a final visitor made her confusion complete. There was a creaking on the loft stairs, and Jessie was looking down at her, very beautiful and eager in the faint blue moonlight. Hey, Winnie Foster, he whispered. You asleep? This time she sat up, pulling the quilt around her in sudden embarrassment, and answered, No, not yet. Well, then listen. He knelt beside her, his curls tumbled and his eyes wide. I've been thinking it over. Paul's right about you having to keep the secret. It's not hard to see why, but the thing is, you knowing about the water already and living right next to it so's you could go there any time, well, listen. How'd it be if you was to wait till you're 17, same age as me? Heck, that's only 6 years off. And then you could go and drink some. And then you could go away with me. We could get married even. That'd be pretty good, wouldn't it? We could have a grand old time, go all over the world, see everything. Listen, Ma and Pa and Miles, they don't know how to enjoy it, what we got. Why, heck, Winnie, life's to enjoy yourself, isn't it? What else is it good for? That's what I say. And you and me, we could have a good time that never stopped. Wouldn't that be something? Once more Winnie adored him, kneeling there beside her in the moonlight. He wasn't crazy. How could he be? He was just amazing. But she was struck dumb. All she could do was stare at him. You think on it, Winnie Foster, Jessie whispered earnestly. Think on it some and see if it don't sound good. Anyway, I'll see you in the morning, all right? All right, she managed to whisper in return. He slipped away then, back up the creaking steps. But Winnie sat upright, wide awake, her cheeks burning. She could not deal with this remarkable suggestion. She could not think on it, for she didn't know what to believe about anything. She lay down again, finally, and stared into the moonlight for another half an hour before she fell asleep. Well, let's think about some of the things we experienced in the last couple chapters there. Chapter 13, it was real little. Now that is all about the man in the yellow suit going up to the Foster house. So he not only took the Tuck's horse, that mystery was cleared up right away. He takes the Tuck's horse and rides back to Tree Gap, back to to Winnie's family's cottage to apparently tell them that he's got some information for him. He says, I know where they've taken your daughter. I got you. But then with 14, it cuts back. The location goes back to the Tuck's house, and it's bedtime. Winnie's getting tucked into bed. The bed is the lumpy old couch for her. She's wrapped up in a quilt. And they're wondering about who took the horse. Was it some ordinary thief, or was it somebody who took the horse because they know something? Because an ordinary horse thief, it's like, well, shucks. Took my horse. But if somebody knows something, that's just so much more dangerous, isn't it? Because the man in the yellow hat is clearly onto something. He could clearly... man in the yellow suit is clearly onto something, but it also mentioned he has a hat. I'm not crazy. So I wonder what color that hat is. If that hat is also yellow, then we've got him. So, Tuck is a warrior. The cushions of the sofa, remarkably lumpy. Smelled like old newspaper. Another simile. What else we got? We got the mouse, who enjoyed a little mousy supper of flapjack crumbs. May gives him some little crumbs. That's precious. I love him. Rest easy, child, drifting into sleep. And so May comes, she's trying to go to sleep, and then May comes, hey, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. And they're just trying to go to sleep. And then Tuck comes in and he says, hey, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. And then she's trying to go to sleep. And then Jesse comes in and he's like, hey, are you asleep? You ever do that thing how somebody's like, psst, you asleep? And then you're just like, yes. Yes, I am. I am in a deep, deep sleep. So I think it'd be easier for her to get to sleep if all these people weren't checking on her all the time. But that they're all checking on her, it shows that the Tucks really do care about her. And May even offered her old nightgown. She's like, hey, you want to borrow my jammies? And Winnie's like, no, I don't want your jammies. But they all check on her. They all seem to really, really care about her. Which is really, because Winnie's thinking about this now. She's like, man, they're all being really sweet to me. And at supper I thought they were criminals, but they're just being so nice. And Jesse, ooh, the lolly, he comes in with that proposition there towards the end of the chapter and says, hey, what if I gave you some of the water and you go drink it when you're 17 and we can be married and live forever and ever together? She couldn't think on it. She could not think on it. It's like that's too big an idea right now. I got a lot of ideas swirling around. I got a lot of stuff to think about. I got a lot of stuff to process. Just told me all about the wheel there in the rowboat, so I'm still trying to process the wheel. And now you come over proposing marriage. That's just a lot to think about. Also, Winnie's 11. 10 going on 11. So, marriage is supposed to be way on a, not even on the back burner, like when you're 11, like not even on the stove, like maybe not even in the kitchen. Marriage isn't supposed to be when you're 11. 10 going on 11. But now that, it's just amazing. She was struck dumb. All she could do was stare at him. Yeah, I'd be struck dumb too. So it was a really interesting couple of chapters. We'll come back with 15 next time. We'll see how that goes. But thank you guys for paying attention with me for another video. And I'll see you next time, you crazy hooligans.